We're now ready to create our first report, and we're going to do so using the standard report wizard. There are several ways to start the standard report wizard. I'm going to use the link right here from the start page. And when I start the report wizard, the first step here is to decide the source from which my data will come. And I'm going to click on Find Database File. And you'll see that in the same area where the sample reports were put by the installation, there's also a sample database. And that's a sample database for access called extreme.mdb. I'm going to choose that, click Open. In fact, as you notice when we first came here, it already was there. And you'll see here that I have some choices as to how to select the data out of that database. I could use stored procedures to return that data. I could use database views. I could use the tables directly. I could even create an ad hoc SQL command that returns a record set from which I will populate the data in my report. For this first report, we're simply going to take the data straight out of a table. In fact, we're going to use the customer table. So I select the customer table. I click the little button here that moves the table over to the other side here on the list called Selected Tables. Now, for most reports, you will use more than one table to generate the report. You might even use tables from more than one database. But for our first report, we're going to select fields out of just this one table of this one database. So let's click Next. And the wizard now shows me all of the data fields defined in the customer table. Obviously, the wizard has to be able to read this database as this wizard is running, which means that the database has to be available to me. Now, in this case, this is a file database right on my local system. But if I were pulling data out of a SQL Server database from a remote machine, I would have to be able to access that remote machine and that remote SQL database in order for this wizard to run. So it is one of the requirements of running the report creation wizard is the database has to be available. I'm going then to choose which fields, and I'm going to pick the customer ID field and the customer name field, moving each one over to the fields to display box. And I'm going to run down here to the bottom and select the phone number. Now, I could continue clicking the Next button, and I could group things by location or various different ways, sorting and so forth. For this first report, we're going to take the simple way. We're going to simply create a running list of all the customers. So I'm going to just click Finish here and complete my report. And we'll look at the other steps of the report wizard in later sections of the course. So I click Finish, and there is my report. There is all of the customers in the database. Now, this is a pretty big database. You see it has many pages here, 5 pages. Notice some things that the report wizard did for me. It put a date up here at the top of the page. It put a page number down here at the bottom of the page. You see the page number changes as I go from page to page here. And of course, this is the preview view of the report. If we look at the design view of the report, very simple because this is a very simple report. Here are the 3 fields that I selected from the database. If I look at my Field Explorer and open the database fields, customer table, you see that customer ID, customer name, and phone number are the fields that are checked as they are in the report. The report generator also gave me these column headings. These are simply text column headings based upon the name of the field. If I look at each of these fields, you see that it says it's customer.customer ID. That's the customer ID from the customer table, and customer name from the customer table, and phone from the customer table. It also gave me these two special fields, and if we look in Field Explorer, we have this area at the bottom called Special Fields, and you see there's lots of things that I can choose here. The two that were chosen is the print date. Print date means the date that this report was generated. So this is actually a dynamic field that gets stored in the report, but if this report is run on someone's computer a year from now, that's the date that will show up. It's the print date of the report, not the creation date of the report. Page number, that's down here at the bottom. That generates my page number field. So I have lots of these special fields that I can insert, and the wizard gave me a couple of them automatically. So there is my first simple report created with the standard report creation wizard. Now we're going to create that same report on our own without the aid of the wizard.